Welcome back to Jazzy's Corner. I'm Jazzy and I will be reading you stories as you go about your merry day. So grab that drink, find your comfort or embrace the hustle of the day and enjoy the stories I have for you. Today we have 3 stories from the Traumatize Them Back subreddit. Let's get into it. First story. I, 30 female, am a hobbyist. As such I order additions to my collection that are delivered via post or courier. Now my entitled neighbor, 28 female, moved into her house roughly 3 months ago with her 9-year-old son. I was close friends with the people who lived there previously and I had them listed as trusted neighbor to deliver packages to if I'm not home. Since she moved in I have changed that with the post services, but unfortunately there are few of the delivery people who have not had the information. Sadly, I have had a few parcels delivered to the entitled neighbor and when I have gone to collect my parcels she has denied knowledge or has given me an already opened package and used the excuse that her son accidentally opened it. So last week I had a delivery coming with several special and expensive additions to add to my collection and decided to work from home to make sure I received my package. I started to work at my usual time of 9 a.m., having double-checked that my doorbell was set to its loudest setting and got on with my work. I have a tendency to get absorbed into my work, so by the time I realized that it was 12:30 p.m. and my package was supposed to have been delivered before then, I started to worry. The first thing I did was check my emails to see if I'd been notified of a delay. My heart sank when I saw the message saying my package had been delivered to my selected neighbor. I left my house and went straight to my neighbor's house to knock on her door. When she opened the door she gave me a look that said she was definitely not happy to see me. Me, hi entitled neighbor, I just had a notification that my package has been delivered here, please may I have it? Entitled neighbor, there's nothing here. Me, I was emailed by the courier service that they delivered to your address. Entitled neighbor was obviously getting angry. I just told you there is nothing here for you. Me, please can you? Before I could finish she slammed the door in my face. I was obviously annoyed and knocked on her door again and waited, but she completely ignored me for at least 10 minutes. Feeling frustrated, I went back home and called the courier service, wanting the delivery person to come back and make sure I got my package back. I was on hold for quite a while before I finally got through to someone. Just as I was telling the service operator what was happening, my doorbell rang several times, then there was repeatedly loud banging coming from my front door, followed by the bell again. I asked the operator to hold on for a moment while I checked who was at my door. I opened the door and there was entitled neighbor, red-faced and with her son who was crying. Entitled neighbor, there's a huge spider loose in my house because of you. Yes, I collect tarantulas, true spiders, and lots of other inverts. At first I was scared that Ian had harmed one of my new tarantulas, but I couldn't keep the sarcasm out of my voice. Me, oh, so you did get my package after all. Entitled neighbor, yes. And now there's a huge spider in my living room. You need to get it out of my house now. Me, one moment I closed my door and talked to the operator who had heard everything. Since I had already told them what was in the package, they were laughing down the phone. I told them I'd have to go rescue my spider from the crazy Karen. I grabbed a catch cup and paintbrush from my spider room and opened my front door again. Entitled neighbor was still stood there looking furious and her son was now completely sobbing. Me, okay, show me where it was. Entitled neighbor, I hate you. I couldn't help but smile as entitled neighbor took me into her house and showed me to her living room where my package was on her floor next to a knife that had obviously been used to open it and the container that the tarantula had been shipped in. Thankfully the tarantula was simply hiding under her sofa and I was able to get it to come out with my handy paintbrush and caught it in the catch cup. I put it back into its shipping container, then picked up my package. Me, got her. Entitled neighbor, finally. Now get that thing out of my house. It terrified my son and I'm arachnophobic. Don't you dare get any more of those things. Me, excuse me. You're the one that opened a package that was mine even after I came to collect it. Entitled neighbor looked shocked. Yes, well my son likes to open packages and I thought it was another one of those gadgets you get. He loves to play with them. I laughed as she obviously hadn't realized that she had just admitted to stealing my previous packages. FYI, I work for a company that sends me product prototypes. Me, so you have been stealing from me. I swear if you ever open one of my packages again, I'm getting the police involved and having you charged with theft. Before she could say anything else I pushed past her and went back home. Thankfully, the tarantula was unharmed and has happily settled into her new enclosure. Since then, I've contacted every courier service in my area and demanded that they never leave anything at her address again. There has been one incident where a package from work was delivered to her, but as soon as I knocked on her door, she just handed me the unopened box and closed the door in my face, much to her son's disappointment if his yelling was anything to go by. The moral of the story is don't open someone else's package, it might just contain giant spiders. Edit added tarantula attacks. I don't know about you guys, but I love a good petty revenge and got you story. But I have to admit I am really afraid of spiders. I had a couple run-ins with huntsman spiders before and I almost jumped out of my skin. Anyway, let me know if you have any curious spider stories, I would love to hear from you. Next story, teenage babysitter's revenge. I was young, maybe 15 years old or so, and would pick up the odd babysitting gig for extra money. I took a night for a household that was on my paper route. They asked me to be there on a Saturday at 8:30 p.m., and I arrived a few minutes early. The parents were still getting ready, and they asked me to watch the kids while they prepared to head out. They left the house at about 9:15 p.m. Before they headed out, the wife gave me some very specific instructions. I could have a snack. 2 Oreos on the counter. Nothing else. She said she poured a glass of milk for me and left it in the fridge. It was right next to the plastic milk jug, with a piece of tape on it showing the level. She told me she'd check it when she got back, and if I took any extra milk I would have to answer for it. The kids were okay, went to bed without any fuss, and the parents returned home at 12:20. Mommy paid me for 3 hours about 10 minutes after they arrived. Excuse me, but this isn't right. I got here before 8:30, and it's now almost 12:30, that's 4 hours, not 3. We didn't leave until 9:15, and we got home at 12:15. I'm only paying you for 3 hours. But I was watching the kids from 8:30. That doesn't matter, we were home, and you weren't in charge, we were. I took the money, and rode my bike home. A couple of weeks later, they did pretty much the same thing. 2 things are important. First, the wife was a neat freak. I'm guessing now she had OCD. Everything was lined up perfectly. One of the kids spilled his drink, and I was looking for some paper towels. The cleaning supplies under the sink were perfectly lined up. Same with the pantry, every jar and can was in a row with the label facing directly to the front. Second, this was in the mid-1970s, and all canned food had paper labels. So, the third time they called me in to babysit, they were late leaving again, and I knew that I was going to get shortchanged for the time I was there. I was steaming. So I went into the pantry, and tore the labels off each and every can. All of them. She had a shelf for Campbell's soups, another for canned veggies, another for canned fruits. And I scrambled the unlabeled cans. When they got home, sure enough, wifey tried to short me. You know what? Keep your money. I don't want it, and I am never babysitting for you again. And as of today, I'm stopping delivering your newspapers as well. So if you want to read the paper, you're going to have to go buy it at a corner store. I stormed out. I wish I could have seen the expression on her face when she opened the pantry door, and saw shelf after shelf of bare metal cans. Nothing like a teenager standing up for themselves. I love the OP in this story. Do you have any stories from your teenage years that makes you feel proud that you stood up for yourself? Please share them in the comments section. And now our final story of the day. I called out hello, I, a 19 female, have a little sister Jasmine, an 11 female, who attends the same school I did when I was her age. The teachers I had when I was there were all amazing except for one, who is now my sister's ELA and social studies teacher, and we've been having a problem. I am looking for perspective on whether or not I've handled it well so far. My grandmother is raising Jasmine. That said, I do take it upon myself to step in as a parent would when needed, and I am very protective of my sister. Jasmine deals with anxiety. We always make it a point to tell her teachers this, but it's usually not an issue for her in school as long as she's with peers and adults who make her feel safe. Earlier in the school year, they had an active shooter drill which usually causes her some anxiety, but she has learned how to cope through it. I happened to be home from college that day, and when I picked her up from school I knew something was off with her mood. Jasmine told me that her teacher announced to the class that in the event of a real active shooter, she would not risk her life for them or try to shield them if it meant she'd get shot. Now, I understand that not everyone, teachers included, feel like they could do that, so I was not upset with her for having this opinion. I was very upset with her for announcing it to her class. I asked Jasmine if she knew why the teacher said that and she said no. I emailed the teacher, she knows me well, and wrote out my concerns cordially. I asked if we could discuss the issue further on the phone or in person, because before I jumped to any conclusions or voiced any type of complaint, I wanted to know her side of things. Like, maybe she said that because some students didn't take the drill seriously so she wanted to scare some sense into them. I don't know. I just thought it would be fair, and maybe I could just leave it at telling her why such a statement impacted Jasmine so much. She wrote back and said, "You can call and we can talk further anytime," and left her phone number, which I appreciated. I left her 2 voicemails requesting a conversation. I kept a friendly, inquisitive tone, but as weeks went by and my calls went unreturned, I became more and more frustrated. I sent one more email asking for a set time to talk and was again unanswered. This was around 3 months ago. The voicemails and emails were sent in the span of 4 weeks so as to not harass her. Parent-teacher conferences were earlier tonight and I went since our grandmother could not. We went over Jasmine's report card. Her grades have slipped a little but only in this teacher's class, so we talked about what she can do to improve them. She was about to usher me out, but since we still had 5 to 10 minutes of our scheduled time, I told her I wanted to talk about the active shooter comment. At this point the principal, who knows me well, just happened to step in. The teacher started saying she would be available to talk privately anytime. I said, "That's a lie." The teacher responded by saying she didn't appreciate the accusation, and I went down the list of the dates I emailed her and left her the voicemails. I told her at this point I want to speak with the principal privately, and the principal and I arranged to talk over the phone later this week since she was busy with conferences. The principal stepped out and the teacher said we can talk over the phone as early as tomorrow during her planning bell, but I told her at this point I no longer want to hear her side of the story and am just going to report what was said to the principal. The teacher was angry when we left. After having an hour or so to think and reflect, I am wondering if I am being an ass for calling her out the way I did and for not giving her one more chance to have a conversation and instead wanting to now escalate it to the principal. That teacher is a piece of work. Good job, OP, you protected your baby sister. Those are the stories of the day. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to connect with each other in the comments below. Until next time, be kind, be curious, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, Jazzy signing off.